So, I mean, and this might be, because I want to let you eat, and maybe we come back.
No, I'm done eating. I'm
okay.
finished. That's how interested I am. I can chew through the entire conversation without you even knowing.
Yeah, this is, so the Peace Corps. So at this time, and you may know this is just me becoming aware of it, because as my nephew tells me, we only have first world problems. Our problems are just, that's a first world problem, Aunt Sonia. That's what he says to me. But the terms like humanitarian, the terms, we say refugees or immigrants, and then they had this displaced person title. But the Peace Corps, of how does this get involved with, because this is cited in a lot of texts on philanthropy, on humanitarianism, the Homeless European Land Project is referenced. If you've got to look for that acronym, for that name, it pops up in quite a few spots, and I'm just wondering of how that, if I'm making sense, how it goes in. I mean, you've got the Church of the Brethren. There's a lot of entities that go into play here, but the role with the Peace Corps, which is
I can tell you, I can give you the exact through line to that. And how it relates to both Brethren Service and the Peace Corps, Brethren Service and the Symaxis community. Dad was a big supporter of Adlai Stevenson in the campaign against Eisenhower, and he was at a United Mine Workers rally in Minnesota. Just as a guest, they didn't ask him to speak or anything. And Kefauver's plane was late, so they asked Dad to fill in the time, thinking that Dad would tell old Hollywood anecdotes. But Dad didn't have any anecdotes because he'd only done one movie. So he got up there and he talked about Brethren Service, and he talked about how we can help people help themselves. And that's our responsibility to the world. We're willing to go and wage war against other countries. Why can't we wage peace? And there was a young senator in the audience named Herbert Humphrey. And Humphrey called Dad in for a meeting and asked him, what is this Brethren Service thing, and what do they do? And he told him about it. And soon after that, Eisenhower was elected. So Dad, Humphrey went to Eisenhower and got him interested in this program of helping displaced people and also rebuilding countries that were ravaged by war. Eisenhower called Dad into the White House, and he couldn't go because he was doing Billy Budd on live television.
Wow.
And they had given him the day off to go to Washington and meet Eisenhower, but Jason Robards, who was playing the captain, got sick, so Dad had to stay in New York and rehearse with the understudy. And so Eisenhower sent not his chief of staff, but his most trusted advisor, a guy named, I think it's Kevin McCann, who was at one time the president of Defiance University in Ohio. He sent McCann up, and they sat in the Sherry Netherlands Hotel on Central Park for, it was about 2-3 hours. And McCann was fascinated with the program, went back to Eisenhower and told him all about it. And Eisenhower was ready to launch the Peace Corps, but his other advisors talked him out of it. They said there's not enough altruism in the ranks of American youth to make this program go. What if nobody volunteers? They're into this rock and roll stuff these days, and it was the old fuddy-duddy response. So Eisenhower shelved it. Humphrey carried that. He wasn't going to let it die. So he talked to Kennedy about it when JFK was running. And he got JFK to make the creation of this corps of volunteers one part of the platform of his campaign. So after he was elected, they created the Peace Corps, and Kennedy called Harold Rao, who was the head of Brethren Service, and offered him the chairmanship of the Peace Corps. And Rao turned it down because he didn't want to politicize the work of his church. So that's when Sergeant Schreiber got the nod to be the head of the Peace Corps.
Wow.
So, when you think about it, Sumaxis is ground zero for the Peace Corps. That is where the seed was planted and grew. And,
Wow. Do you
it's pretty
think...
amazing because, the Dad says nobody really knows about it. I mean, there's no reference to the connection between Brethren Service and the Peace Corps. There is a lot of information about Brethren Service. They've been around forever. They've been around for nearly 200 years. And he said the only record that he could find was the congressional records of Humphrey's activity. And those might still be available online. Because Dad found the references back in the pre-internet days.
Okay.
So he says the congressional record does make mention of it, but I haven't seen it because I'm not a researcher.
Yeah.
I'm
I will check that out. If it's there to be found, I will. Yeah, one way or the other, I will find that. Do you have an idea if your mom knew or felt the impact of what the Homeless European Land Project had with that? I mean, it's because again, what I've noticed is that there are a lot of interviews that your dad has given this century. I mean, I think the most recent I found might have been like 2018 or something, with a podcast. And I don't know if you have, might not be a fair question to ask, but if she, if she just knew the impact of what this work had.
They were both extremely humble people and were not likely to grandstand like, Angelina with her charity work. And I think Mom, because I never knew anything about this until I started getting interested in it. And that was, I'd been begging Dad to go to Sumaxis for about 20 years and saying, let's just see it. Even if there's nothing there, let's just go and stand there and, and it turns out that, and he said, no, we checked on Google Maps and all of that stuff. And, this was later on. So when I got that message on Facebook from Vlada Pavchik, I was literally blown away because here was somebody, again, who was giving me, all of the frame of the puzzle and then slowly filling in the inside of the puzzle. But there was still this gaping hole about help. And, that's why I'm so grateful that you brought it up and are doing the work on your own, because it is, it means so much to me. Okay. And not because I want to broadcast it, I just want to know.
Yeah.
They asked me, they had pictures of Mom and Dad there on the beach in Oristano, right? And
wow,
I have photographs of it of this display they put up